righty, not a bad start for a Tuesday, March 24th, 2026. Midwinter kicking off the show. Their latest track, Line Figures. That band, Midwinter, should have been on my list for bands that are underappreciated. There was a few people on that post on my Facebook page that were like, how come you never really play these bands on the air? I'm like, we do. I just played some Via Nova yesterday. Look at my playlist for Peach's Picks of 2026. There's a whole lot of bands, a whole lot of newer bands on that list. It's available on Spotify. Just search Peach's Picks of 2026. I just added that Midwinter song onto that playlist as well, keeping track of all the picks that I make for the year 2026. If you want to get a hold of me, of course you can, over at 208-535-1015. Today was the first day in a few years, and by a few years, I think maybe 5 years, that I have purchased a concert ticket. 2 concert tickets. I fell for the low ticket warning. You see, I have this list here of potential concerts that I'm really wanting to go to. If I can make it, I will. Coming up on April 18th is Bill Murray with the Kinda Hard Tour. Bill Murray with the Home Team and this other band that I'm completely forgetting the name of. I think it's Gang. G-A-N-G exclamation point. They're going to be at the Union that Saturday, April 18th. And, well, I saw the post this morning that there was a low ticket warning for that show. And I was thinking, do I risk my chance in trying to get, the free tickets because I work in radio? One of the few perks you get in radio? Or do you think I should just purchase these tickets, and if for some reason I do get those free comp tickets later, I can just sell them to somebody or sell them to one of my girlfriend's family members or something like that, They weren't all that expensive. It's at the Union, so it's one giant standing room only venue. And Bill Murray is such a great band. I love those guys. I'm sure there are still a bunch of listeners going, is Peaches talking about that old actor that voiced Garfield in A Garfield, A Tale of Two Kitties? No, I'm not talking about that Bill Murray and his many other roles. No. I'm talking about the band, the awesome band Bill Murray. I might play them coming up here after the break just to introduce some new people to them. They got an awesome saxophonist by the name of Gabby Rose. She does her own project too. She has her own project. She has her own band called N Rose or On Rose, something like that. Johnny Frank on vocals, of course, for Bill Murray. I forgot the other 2 members already. I think their guitarist had to step down because he had allegations against him or something like that, but now they have a new guy, something along the lines of that. I don't know, but Bill Murray's new album, Kinda Hard, comes out here soon. I bought tickets for the show. Salt Lake City, the Union. You can find that show and many other shows like it on our concert calendar, always available to you at riverbendmediagroup.com/calendar. You can also find the shortcut to the concert calendar by just going to the K-Barrel 101 app, clicking on concert calendar. Boom, right there. It takes you right to that link. Peach's Pit Party will return here in just a few on K-Barrel 101. Happy Tuesday. I can already see the non-radio friendly listeners popping up for this question if I were to ask it for to Peach their own later on in the afternoon. What is something you tried only once and will 1,000% never do it again? For me, it's go on an alpine slide. I've talked about that story a bunch of times. I fell off the world's longest alpine slide like an idiot. I think I was like 10, 11. I was going down the alpine slide. It's the world's longest alpine slide somewhere in New Hampshire. And there was one curve, and then it quickly goes to another curve, and my whole cart, whatever it's called, flipped over, and I started sliding on my stomach down the trail, which burnt most of my skin off. My dad, who was in the trail next to mine, intentionally flipped his his cart, whatever it's called, to then slide down himself, get himself up, and rescue me. So he hurts himself in the process. He's the best dad ever. Rescues his fat, too big to be 11-year-old son. And yeah, we had to walk down the rest of the way. It was awful. We had to walk down like 2 miles to the nearest nurse station that this place had to then get covered in Band-Aids. We showed up back to the hotel room because we were on vacation at that point. My mom was devastated, bawling her eyes out, seeing us with like skin hanging off. It was disgusting. What is something you tried only once and will 1,000% never do again? I've seen many of these fails on Instagram. Tried to trim my own bangs. I looked like a medieval peasant child for 3 months. Don't do it. Let the barber do it. So that way, if they mess up, you can get your money back, right? Or maybe they can, I don't know. Personally, I don't know because I don't have any hair. I think they would, if you hate it so much, just shave your head. Why not? Go bald for a little while. Times Square on New Year's Eve. As a native New Yorker, I'm ashamed of myself for getting dragged into that in my 30s, no less. I've always dreamt of going to New York on New Year's Eve just to experience the ball drop, but then I realized, now that I'm an adult, almost 30, I'm like, that seems like a pain in my butt. Just to have to wait there all day, wear a diaper, so that way I don't lose my spot. I'm waiting there hours upon hours. All for what? Just to see a countdown, and then a ball goes to the bottom, and boom, all of a sudden, it's the new year. Yay! What is something you tried only once and will 1,000% never do again? Friend's car had no more space, so I jammed myself inside the trunk. It's only a short drive, 5 minutes tops, but it's definitely not something I would ever do again. Well, luckily, when you're as big as me, you can't fit anywhere else in the car except for the driver's seat or the passenger seat, and sometimes that's even too small. So for the most part, if you have nice friends, they'll let me sit, or if I have nice friends, they'll let me sit in the front seat. I don't have to worry about being that person who's squished in the back seat between two people. It would never work. Let's play some Rob Zombie. I'm a rock and roller on Peach's Pit Party. This is horrible, what I'm reading here. About this claw machine over in China, this arcade in particular over in China, they have a claw machine where it's packed with live hamsters that players try to catch and then take home. I mean, does it drop into like an actual little like prize cube thing? Like, when you go to a claw machine, it drops the stuffed animal onto the thing. You open up the little hatch and you grab whatever you won. You hardly ever win one of those things because it's the weakest claw of all time and it's intentionally made that way. But I can only imagine, like, you get a hold of a hamster and then the claw drops the hamster a few feet. That would injure the hamster. No matter if you won the hamster or even if you just dropped it inside the machine, that would almost potentially kill the hamster. That's horrible. Photos shared online show the tiny pets just packed into the corner of the claw machine, forced to live inside the noisy, brightly lit game while dodging the metal claw each time someone tried to win them. What do you mean packed into the corner? Were they all just huddled in the corner, afraid to go towards the claw? Let me look at this here. Oh, yeah, wait, there's like a few hamsters just huddled up in the corner facing the corner. Are they that sad or are they just asleep? Oh, they're asleep. Oh, that's sad. There's like a food wheel. I don't think it's like an actual like regular claw machine. I think they accommodated it to where it's going to gently lower the hamster that you won down into the little compartment rather than just some horrible thing where you see the metal claw squeeze the crap out of the hamster. It's dead before it even hits the ground because the claw machine just squeezed it. Let's stop talking about killing hamsters here. Even though last week I was just playing a game on my computer called Hamster Hunter. It's a weird, messed up game. If you hate hamsters, play that game. You just kill them for fun. This is when I wish Maddie was in here. Maddie from across the hall. She's a part of the Gen Z crowd. Actually, when does Gen Z officially end? Gen Z years. Let's see, 1997 and 2012. Okay, so I'm a year before Gen Z. I'm still considered a millennial, which is weird, right? I'm in that weird in-between era. We've talked about that many times before, but Maddie from down the hall, she was born in the year 2006. And I guess the Gen Z status symbol is a marathon finisher's medal because training for a marathon is now the ultimate Gen Z flex. It shows you have discipline, determination, and a real offline life is what it says. There are so many things that you could do way better for yourself than run 26.2 miles. 26.2 miles. The longest I've ever ran is just 5. I can't imagine going 21 more than that. I've attempted to do a 10 miler before. That was back when I was just living at home and I was bored. I was working part-time at In-N-Out. It was 2020, so COVID was a thing. Hardly anybody was out there. I was working remotely for TMZ. So I was like, you know what? Let me attempt to do 10. Let me attempt to go from my parents' place to the Seal Beach Pier and back. Well, I got to the Seal Beach Pier, and by the time I got there, I was exhausted. And I didn't want to waste another hour walking back to my parents' place. So my parents were nice enough to come by and pick up my fat butt. Well, at the time, I was skinny because I was stupid enough to do runs like that. I can't imagine trying to train for a marathon now at this fat weight that I'm at. Gen Z is 75% more likely than Gen X to say a race or event is their main motivation for exercise. And Fortune reported that Gen Z is 40% more likely than Gen X to use fitness to meet people who share their interests. I mean, good. Good for you. Me, I'm never running the marathon in my life. I can guarantee you that. Your favorite bar is going to need to get some new equipment to show every football game next season, as NFL Sunday Ticket will no longer be available at commercial establishments through DirecTV. The satellite service had exclusive rights to Sunday Ticket until YouTube took over in 2023, but the service DirecTV for Business continued to provide NFL Sunday Ticket for bars and restaurants. That business deal expired, and if a new deal isn't struck by the preseason, bars and restaurants will have to get special streaming hardware to show the games. Let's talk about some handball here for the Shot Clock Sports Update. Raise your hand if you knew handball was a big deal in Germany. It is. And there's been a scandal brewing over there as one of the most storied sports trophies in the country has been missing since November. Many people believed that the trophy, which is actually a large silver dish, had been melted down and sold for silver. Not so fast, though. The $14,000 trophy was found stashed in a basement storage area. The team that currently holds the trophy, I'm not even going to try to say that because it almost sounds like I'm saying the F word. Something Berlin believes that suspects stole the trophy from its offices and then hid it to retrieve later, but decided against doing so because of media attention around the theft. A Netflix documentary on the way there for that. Max Scherzer credits the piano for extending his career. The Toronto Blue Jays pitcher had seriously considered retirement because of pain in his right thumb. Scherzer had piano lessons as a kid and last year decided to show off his show his 4-year-old children, his 4 young children, I'm sorry, not 4-year-old, show his 4 young children how to play, as there was one in the condo he had rented. He realized that after he played, his thumb felt better, so he started playing in the luxury hotels the team stayed in while on the road. Scherzer said when you're playing different keys and notes and chords, your hands are in a very unique positions, or they're just overall in very unique positions. It makes you really work through your fingertips by working those muscles in my hand. It got my fingers, quote-unquote, stronger. Good for you, Max Scherzer. Shohei Ohtani continues to set records on and off the field. The jersey he wore during Japan's 13-0 win over Chinese Taipei in the World Baseball Classic on March 6th sold for $1.5 million, the most ever paid for an Ohtani jersey at auction. During that game played at the Tokyo Dome, Ohtani hit a grand slam, had 5 RBIs back in 2023. An Ohtani jersey from a game against Australia only sold for $126,100. That does it for your Shot Clock Sports Update right here on K-Bear 101. 5-Finger Death Punch, wash it all away on K-Bear 101. It's Peach's Pit Party. People are wrapping their smart car keys, not the smart car, like the smart car tiny vehicle, no. They're wrapping their smart car keys in foil because these criminals are increasingly using radio devices to extend the signals of car keys and then unlock vehicles without their owners realizing. So there's that. I understand that completely. I remember back in the day, just a couple years ago, not necessarily back in the day, just a couple years ago, my parents saw something like this and they freaked out. And so they had each of us get a little metal tin container, aluminum container, and we would put our keys in that. And I remember my parents would get mad if I didn't have my keys in that container because then somebody can infiltrate the suburban neighborhood of Seal Beach, California, and take my sweet ride that was a 2003 Honda Element at the time. I make fun of that now, but someone did actually steal my catalytic converter at my ex-girlfriend's place living back in California. I still to this day am very mad about that because I want to find the guy who did it, just yell at him for getting me in trouble because I spent the night at my ex-girlfriend's place and she, and everything was going fine and until the catalytic converter was stolen. I tried leaving that next morning. It sounded like Paul Walker was leaving the neighborhood. or Vin Diesel, family, you know, that kind of thing. Got to be careful with your car keys, all right? Those radio thieves might be headed to your neighborhood. Here's some bad omens. Spectre on K-Bear. K-Bear 101, I always tell people to follow us on social media if you haven't done so already. K-Bear 101 FM on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, even YouTube. That one's at K-Bear 101 RMG. I do want to point out, though, another radio station's awesome social media page. 96.9 The Eagle, KKGL over in Boise, I believe. They have one of the best Facebook pages you can ever follow. Every single year during the month of June, they update, or right as it hits June 1st, actually, they update their profile picture and their cover photo to be the pride flag. And a few people get severely butthurt by this whole thing, so then they start leaving hate comments, and then the Eagle goes, okay, well, it now stays up from June to July, and they keep extending it depending on how many hate comments they get. And that's just one of the many things they do on that page. One of the other funny things that they do is they just post the most unhinged memes. I'm talking like, whoa, that's some dark humor stuff. Like, it's stuff that makes me laugh. But if I were to try to post that on the K-Bear page, oh man, would that be bad. Even though it clearly works for them because they have 361,000 Facebook followers. I'm sure they built that over time because they're just so out of the ordinary. I don't know how many people actually listen to that station, but again, I don't live in Boise. I just know they have a great Facebook digital footprint, as they say. So the reason why I brought them up too is also because they asked this question not that long ago, and I kind of want to ask it for to each their own, even though I already can guess what the popular answers are going to be. They said, suggestion box is open. How can we make this radio station better? I can guarantee you we're going to get Stop Playing Sleep Token from that loud hate group. You know, stop playing Sleep Token. They're not metal. Stop playing Poppy as well. We're going to see that. We're going to see Go Uncensored, which is not ever going to happen because the FCC exists. We're going to see stop with the liberal politics, even though there is no liberal politics, especially on my show. I can't say for Victor's show, but my show, there's definitely no politics. I've been accused of being a liberal by like 2 people on Facebook in the past. Like, come on, knock it off with that nonsense. What else would there be? Oh, yeah, get rid of the commercials. That would be another thing. I wonder if anybody will actually surprise me if I were to ask, how can we make this radio station better during the 4 p.m. hour to each their own? Maybe I might. Make sure to join our K-Bear Facebook group for an update on that. K-Bear 101 Idaho Rock and Metal. One of the biggest things that I fear as I get older, and I mean really fear, is getting a colonoscopy. Like, I know it's something you have to do. Be responsible, take care of yourself. All that adult stuff nobody warned you about when you were a kid, thinking adulthood meant eating pizza whenever you want. It's like, sure, you can, but your health is going to be seriously affected by it. I was just talking with a listener in the lobby about this type of thing. Like, I'm hitting 30 this year, and I feel like I gotta really watch myself now. I need to watch my weight. I'm getting on top of that. You know, get my cholesterol down, get my acid reflux under control. That's a serious issue nobody ever tells you about either. Acid reflux, boy, does that suck. But yeah, when it comes to colonoscopies, they've even lowered the recommended age to 45 now because colorectal cancer is showing up more in younger people, which is just, awesome. Love that for us. Just what I needed. Another thing to worry about before I even hit 50, right? But the prep for a colonoscopy. Everyone always says, oh yeah, the procedure itself, totally fine. It feels a little bit uncomfortable. Cool, that's great. But then they followed up with that prep though. Suddenly their eyes go dead, like they've seen something they can never unsee, like they went to war and the war was in their own bathroom. And then I start thinking about the doctors. Like, yeah, shout out to doctors. Seriously, like, doctors, they're heroes. But at the same time, how do they wake up in the morning, grab their coffee, maybe a bagel, and go, all right, time to go look at butts all day? Like, that's your job. That's your career path. Guidance counselor never warned you about that one. And, there had to be at least one patient, one situation, one experience that absolutely scared a doctor for life. Like, they went home, sat in silence, stared at the wall, and just whispered, I should have been a dentist or something like that. And don't even get me started on surgeons in general, too. Like, how are they cutting somebody up doing all of that, stitching them back up. One wrong mistake, that person's dead. They're responsible for that person not being alive anymore. So they have to be 100% perfect. They cut somebody up and then they just casually go to lunch afterwards like, yeah, I'll take that turkey sandwich. I couldn't do it. I'd be sitting there like, you know what? I'm good. I'm going to go fast for the rest of my life. So yeah, shout out to doctors. We need you. We respect you. We appreciate you. Oh man, I'm not looking forward to that appointment in the future when I'm 45 years old, 15 years from now. 15 years only from now. Jeez. All right, let's move on before I consider before I keep thinking about this. Tom Morello, Beartooth, Everything Burns right here on K-Bear 101. Peach's Pit Party with Cage the Elephant on K-Bear 101. Let's talk about a first world problem here that I'm currently experiencing. My parents, they surprised me for my birthday last year. With a computer, out of all things. A very expensive computer. Computers are terribly expensive. It was like $900, something like that. And, well, now I specifically game on my computer. I canceled my Xbox Live because they were about to charge me like $105 for the entire year. I mostly hang out on Discord and just hang out on my computer. I rarely ever touch my Xbox anymore. I still want to keep it, but yeah, I'm not going to go to it as my go-to gaming console, especially after what they did with Game Pass. Game Pass was relatively cheap. You would pay a certain amount of money per month, and you would get all these different games, not necessarily for free, but you could just download them and you could play them, but as soon as they were off Game Pass, they would just disappear from your library, like you were just renting these games, which is kind of silly, right? Then they raised the price of Game Pass and made it like $30 a month, and so many people canceled it. And I really, really hate when people are so tone deaf when it comes to just how the fans feel, how the consumers feel. Obviously, Microsoft is just messing up right now. The CEO of Xbox wants cheaper Game Pass sub and Netflix bundle deal. Could you imagine? She's saying that, hey, why not, instead of just lowering the price of Game Pass, let's say, hey, you could pay for Game Pass and Netflix, but also it could potentially come with ads too. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that at all. I just don't understand it. My first world problem was that I just had to cancel my Game Pass because it was getting expensive, and now I have to game only on my computer. Oh, and also, I found that website that I've talked about on the show previously, canirunit.com or something like that. I saw Cyberpunk 2077 was on sale, so I wanted to play it. And, well, I decided to see if my computer could even run it in the first place. And it says, hey, it's not recommended for your computer to do so. I need a better CPU that would sit me back about $400 more. Yay! Gotta love computer parts. Am I right? The Game Pass bundling up with Netflix with ads. Even just looking at this article makes me upset. Let's move on here. Let's play some Sleep Theory. It's Static on K-Bear 101. Honestly, I love March Madness because it gets people to watch basketball, and it gets people to just talk about basketball. People that would never watch or talk about basketball ever, even participate in like their in-office March Madness tournament. They compete with their coworkers. Aubrey, my girlfriend, she's in her in-office bracket. She's like in 20th place out of 40-something, 50-something people. I'm not exactly sure, but that's pretty high up there. It's not first, though. I'm temporarily tied for first place with Josh from Classy 97. We both have 64 points. We both have very similar brackets. It's going to get down to the wire, I think, between us two. Victor is like in dead last, which is funny because his bracket's not all that bad, but he apparently chose the wrong school, so technically that makes it bad. But he didn't have his winner that he predicted get eliminated in the first game of the tournament like Maddie from down the hall. Or Chantel, she had Gonzaga winning the entire thing. They lost. They hurt my bracket big time. I had them going to the Final Four, I think. But yeah, the March Madness, it goes by, like the first part of March Madness, there's basketball game after basketball game after basketball game, like it's on for a good amount of time. And then it just stops for a little while and then continues. Later on this week, I think Thursday, 5:10 p.m., is the first game to continue a part of the Sweet 16. Texas, Purdue, the first game there. I'm seeing Iowa versus Nebraska, Arkansas versus Arizona, Illinois versus Houston, and then on Friday we got St. John's versus Duke, and then Alabama versus Michigan. I'm really hoping I can win this year. I want to have bragging rights. For what? I don't know, because picking the perfect bracket is impossible, right? It technically can happen. It's not impossible, but you have like a 1 in 50 quintillion chance of getting a perfect bracket, and there are 0.0 perfect brackets left for this tournament. Good luck on yours if you're in one. Peach's Pit Party right here on K-Bear 101. So I just saw this article and had to double check it wasn't satire. Sharks in the Bahamas. They're testing positive for cocaine, caffeine, and painkillers. I'm not even joking. Scientists, they tested like 85 sharks, and nearly a third of them had drugs in their system. Caffeine, ibuprofen, even cocaine in one case. So basically the sharks are running on the same thing you are during like a double shift, you know? Coffee, painkillers, etc. But here's the wild part. It's not like the sharks are throwing ragers underwater. No, this is our fault. All this stuff is getting into the ocean through sewage, runoff, and yeah, people just casually going number one in the water after taking who knows what. So somewhere out there, there's a shark just freaking out. Why do I feel so alert and also slightly aggressive? And now I'm just picturing this. You're out there snorkeling, having the time of your life. You're in the Bahamas, and here comes a shark that's caffeinated. Maybe just did a bump off of a drifting duffel bag, you know, comes right after you. Absolutely not. All right, I got today's What the Headline, and this one comes out of Florida. Of course it does. A guy gets pulled over going over 100 miles an hour. And when the cops ask what he's doing, he says, well, I had to. There was an animal in the road. What kind of animal are we talking about here? Because at 101 miles an hour, that thing isn't crossing the road. It's going to get obliterated, right? If you run into that thing at that speed, they say the fastest land animal is a cheetah, right? Top speed around 60, maybe 70 if it's having a great day, you know, maybe it's in shape. So what was it? A cheetah in a Dodge Charger? What was it, chasing him? Was it drafting behind him like NASCAR? And also, if there's an animal in the road, the move is usually to slow down, not hit Fast and Furious mode and hope for the best. I just love the confidence, though. The man looked at a triple-digit speeding ticket and said, you know what'll get me out of this? Wildlife. Well, he got arrested, posted a $500 bond somewhere out there. Is an animal just absolutely shocked? No, Florida stays undefeated. That is today's What the Headline right here on K-Bear 101. So spring break obviously is already happening for a lot of high schools and colleges out there. I looked it up because I forgot. It's been so long since I've been in school. You know, it's been a whole total of 8 years. Spring break occurs 1 week in mid to late March, and we're approaching the end of the month, so I'm assuming spring break is wrapping up for a lot of people. The legendary spring break party beaches of Florida. You know, they're currently under a high-pressure police crackdown. Cops are using paintball guns and pepper spray to control rowdy college students. There was that story not that long ago about gunshots heard at one particular spring break party, but it was actually like the crunching of water bottles or something like that, and then one person freaked out and ran, and then pretty soon it was just the domino effect afterwards. But during a recent clash at one of these parties, officers targeted this one specific beach party. The clash featured a law officer shouting at a group of party people shaking their butts, "No twerking," with an added warning, you will be charged with disorderly conduct. To prevent the massive crowds from spiraling into the booze-fueled mess seen in previous years, police are strictly enforcing an 8 p.m. curfew and have banned coolers and alcohol from the beach. It just sounds awful down there. I think my friend Matt was texting me about this recently. He likes to go on these tangents every so often. I think he might have just sent me that on Facebook, where he was talking about how Florida used to be the spot, but since so many people have gone now to Florida and have started partying during the spring break time of the year, that Florida is just done with it, so they just cancel it all, ruin it for everybody. It always has to be those few people that ruin it for the majority. Let's play some Era. There was one particular listener telling me I should play more Era on the show. Well, here's Black Cloud on Peach's Pit Party. K-Bear 101, it's quite stupid to try to pick a fight with somebody who's like twice your size. Alan Richson. He played Thad Castle on Blue Mountain State. He now plays Jack Reacher. He got even bigger for the role. Like, he's a huge dude. Seems rather nice. Seems really funny. I would never want to mess with that guy. Even if he's an actor, still, he's just a buff, huge guy, right? I wouldn't pick on him. I would just be like, hey, man, what's up? Can I be your friend? So that way, if somebody does pick on me, Alan Richson just comes out of nowhere and defends me. Well, there was this video coming around or popping up online yesterday. I talked about it very briefly on the show, that he was just caught beating up this one guy. I think it was his neighbor. Yeah, it was his neighbor. I guess the person started filming way late to where it looked like Alan Richson was just beating up a guy for no reason. Well, no. Turns out this neighbor was starting a fight with him. Alan Richson did not instigate the fight with his neighbor, is what it says here from TMZ.com. He was pushed off his bike twice by the man before the video recorded beatdown, according to sources close to the actor. Why would you see a giant dude on a motorcycle and then just push him off a bike? There must have been some serious bad blood between these two. I wonder what's actually going on. Are we ever going to get an actual clarification? Like a non-biased point of view? I mean, Alan Richson is just decking him in the head while he's down. I mean, it's funny. And I almost said Jack Reacher. Alan Richson's huge compared to this guy. Again, like, don't mess with people. Oh, there's the neighbor's face. Jeez, that's a giant welt on his forehead. Yikes. Thanks for listening to Peach's Pit Party, the podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please share, subscribe, and rate the podcast. Peach's Pit Party is hosted by me, Peaches, a.k.a. Brendan Peach, and is a production of Riverbend Media Group. For more information or to contact the show, visit riverbendmediagroup.com. Until next time, Peach out.